You know, the entire world of business is kind of like a giant, really complicated game. And just like any game you'd actually want to play, it needs a rulebook. Well, that's exactly what business law is. It's the rulebook that makes sure the game is played fairly. And to really get just how important it is, let's imagine for a second what the world would look like without it.
Okay, so let's step into this world. A world with no rules. I mean, really think about it. What would commerce be like with absolutely no guidelines, no referees, no consequences for breaking your word?
Well, for starters, promises would mean nothing. A contract? Just a piece of paper. You could agree to a deal, get what you want, and then just walk away without paying. And guess what? There'd be nothing the other person could do about it.
Can you imagine the kind of uncertainty that would create? It would be paralyzing. Why would anyone risk their money on a new idea or even trust a simple delivery if every single deal was a total crapshoot? Growth would just stop.
And deception? Oh, it would be the new normal. False advertising, selling counterfeit goods, outright scams. It would all be part of the game with zero legal protection for you or your money.
And the end result of all this is pretty simple. Total chaos. You'd have a marketplace run on pure mistrust and fear, where only the most dishonest players could ever get ahead. That's not a functioning economy, that's just a free-for-all.
And that is exactly why we have business law. It's the structure, the framework we've built to pull us back from that chaos and create a space where we can all do business with at least some level of confidence.
Now, the word to focus on here is enforceable. These aren't just good suggestions. They are rules with real teeth backed by real authority. And that enforcement is what creates the trust and certainty we need for millions of deals to happen smoothly every single day, often between people who have never even met. So, how does this whole system of trust actually hold up? Well, it's built on three really big ideas, three foundational pillars that support our entire economy. First, pillar number one is the law itself. These are the actual rules of the game, written down, formal, and created by the state to set clear boundaries on what you can and cannot do in business. But just having rules isn't quite enough. That brings us to the second pillar, the rule of law. This is so crucial. It's the idea that the rules apply to everyone in the same way. It doesn't matter if you're a small startup or a giant multinational corporation. The same rulebook applies to you. And a third pillar is the idea of property. This is the legal right to actually own things. We're talking about everything from the building your company is in, that's real property, to the computers and machinery you use, and even your ideas, which we protect as intellectual property. It's the whole concept of having control over your own stuff. I love this quote. It's a great way to think about it. Property is like a legal fence. It's not just about having something, it's about the law recognizing your right to put a boundary around it, giving you exclusive control. That idea is the bedrock of our whole market system. All right, so we have our rulebook, we have its core pillars, but what's it actually trying to do? What are the specific goals here? You see, the rulebook isn't just about playing defense, like stopping fraud. It's also about playing offense. It aims to actively promote growth by making things predictable for investors, and it sets up clear procedures so that everyone knows how to play the game from the start.
To see how this all works in the real world, let's look at what happens when the rules get broken in a big way. A classic example is the Satyam scam in India. It was a huge corporate fraud that really served as a wake-up call.
But here's the most important part of that story. What happened after the scam came to light? The rulebook adapted. In response, India passed much stricter laws, like the Companies Act of 2013. This update basically put auditors on a tighter leash and required more independent voices on corporate boards, all to prevent that kind of disaster from happening again. This whole episode just goes to show that the rulebook isn't set in stone. It can and does evolve. So that brings up a really important question. Who actually writes these rules? Turns out there are a few key sources. Right at the very top of the pyramid, you have the Constitution. This is the master document for the whole country. It sets up the fundamental rights, including the basic right for people to own property and start a business in the first place.
Okay, one level down from that, you have statutes. These are the specific laws, the legislation, passed by bodies like Parliament. Think of things like the Companies Act or competition laws. These are the nitty-gritty written rules that govern how businesses operate day to day.
And finally, there's case law. Look, statutes can't possibly predict every single situation that might come up. So when judges make decisions in court cases, their interpretations create precedents. It's like they're adding footnotes and clarifications to the rulebook, guiding how the rules get applied in the real world.
So, We've looked at what the rulebook is, its foundations, and where it comes from. Let's zoom out and tie it all together. Why does any of this really matter? It is so easy to look at business law and just see a bunch of annoying red tape, a list of things you're not allowed to do. But that's really missing the point. In reality, it's the invisible architecture holding up our entire modern economy.
Because here's the payoff. When you have rules that are clear and enforced fairly, it builds trust. That trust gives people the confidence to take risks, which is what fuels innovation. It protects all of us as consumers from getting ripped off, and it protects creators' new ideas. And when you put all of that together, that's how you build a strong, thriving economy.
So this rulebook is never really finished. As our world changes with new technology and new challenges, from AI and data privacy to crypto, the game of business is constantly changing too. And that leaves us with a really important question to think about. What new rules are we going to need for the game of tomorrow?